Views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 8 News Now or Nexstar Media Group.
With what we are attracting for candidates to serve in those seats, because nobody wants that job,
right,
then we should take a look at a new system.
Tonight on Politics Now, reforming the school board. The man who formerly oversaw efforts to reorganize tells us the faults he sees in the system. Plus,
you know what I'm concerned about is there's too much name calling going on.
Former Nevada senators and governors get together to teach the next generation of public servants the advice they had about today's political climate.
After you go through an experience like that, you make a promise to yourself that you will never be a victim again.
Republican congressional candidate Lisa Song Sutton talks to us about gun legislation, health care, and more.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now with Steve Sebelius.
Well, the ink is finally drying on a new contract for Clark County teachers. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Sebelius. The CCSD Board of Trustees voted unanimously to approve the contract between the school district and the teachers union. The agreement focuses on 4 key issues: a salary increase, step increases, increased contributions to health care premiums, and extra pay for advanced education. Now that it's been approved, teachers will get back pay. Also this week, the union representing support employees in the district reached a tentative agreement on their new contract with the district. Tom Skanke was the man in charge of the school district reorganization effort back in 2017. He also headed the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. We asked for his insight into the problems the district is facing now. And found, in fact, that a lot of companies that didn't want to move to Nevada, the reason they gave was the education system.
Exactly, Steve. I was sitting in my office one day with a company from Korea. We had been trying to attract them here. And the gentleman that came in held up the Las Vegas Review-Journal headline that said, Nevada 49th in the nation.
Oops, sorry about that.
Right, exactly. And I didn't have an answer for him when he said, why? Why should I move my company here when you're 49th?
Because it's not only the educated workforce, but it's the employees of his company who have children who need to send them to schools.
Yeah, so, you know, I've said for years, and my Republican friends and people in the business community are going to hate what I'm going to say next, but, you know, if Nevada's tax structure was so great, and if that's why companies relocated, then why isn't every Fortune 50 company in the country and in the world doing business in Nevada?
People can be excused for being cynical, right? To say, well, you found it, it was there all along. Why did we have to go through this?
Yeah, so it's the shell game, right? And if you look at the trustees, they primarily have 3 responsibilities. They hire and fire the superintendent.
Yeah.
They pass a budget, which they've seen probably maybe 8, 12 hours if they're lucky before, that's prepared for by the staff. Because the trustees can't talk to each other under the Attorney General's letter from the mid-90s that says you can't talk to each other, which, by the way, they are the only governing board that has that restriction on them. When we were trying to do the reorganization, which should have been successful, by the way, I think it was well thought out. There was a lot of support in the community for that. We fought the trustees every day.
It sounds like the trustees are probably where you would start if you wanted to reform the system.
Yeah, so if you look back, so I've been in Las Vegas since Dr. Cram was the superintendent. And we always do this to the superintendent. When we were doing the reorganization, I can't tell you how many people in the community said, you've got to make a recommendation to fire the superintendent. Well, 1, we weren't given that authority. 2, that's the trustee's job. 3, I don't think it is the superintendent 80% of the time. Superintendent is given a budget amount from the legislature, and the superintendent, he or she works for the trustees. And in my opinion, there needs to be a reorganization of how those trustees serve and what their roles and responsibilities are. Think about the Gaming Commission. If the trustees were allowed to be appointed for just 6 years, okay? The culture at the school district is rumor and innuendo and gossip. The culture is, if no one likes what someone else is saying, they start texting legislators and the trustees because someone was offended. And at the end of the day, that shouldn't be the culture, Steve. The culture should be, this is a priority for our community.
Well, you can watch the rest of that interview, including Skanky's ideas on how he would reform the Board of Trustees. That's on our website at 8newsnow.com. Well, several former governors and senators are shaping the next generation of public servants. It's part of a new program at UNLV's Boyd Law School, moderated by Governor Brian Sandoval. Former governor, we should say, Brian Sandoval. 8 News Now reporter Bianca Holman was there. She filed this report about that conversation.
It was definitely a gathering of influential Nevada leaders. We heard personal stories of challenges while in office, and also attendees got a chance to question their thought process. This is part of the UNLV Law and Leadership Program. Governor Brian Sandoval and the law school wants to encourage future lawyers to take on public service roles. The program is a time for national and state lawmakers to discuss leadership choices and their impact. Former governors Richard Bryan, Bob Miller, and Robert List talked about tough times in office and the need for collaboration. They discussed a big topic, education, as well as the Clark County school budget and teacher union contract.
I think one of the problems that we've had in Clark County is it is such a massive organization. You know, it's the 5th largest school district in America, and it's tough to govern that wide of a scale, of scope of education. I mean, hundreds of thousands of students, and it is just almost more than one single district can do.
And education is a complex issue, and I think individually you've seen each governor has approached it in different fashions and tried to put in some nuance that helps in the quality of education. With me, it was class size reduction.
They also mentioned the term limits and how institutional knowledge is crucial in the legislature, saying it takes time to understand how to get things done and be effective while in office. It was a very insightful event with a diverse audience. This is the first of several more programs to come. Bianca Holman, 8 News Now.
Well, former Governor Sandoval earned a reputation in his long career in Nevada for working across the aisle with Democrats. So I asked him about getting things done in a hyper-polarized climate like the one we have today. It seems like in Washington, Senator Heller said it, there's a bill, it's a good bill, it's a bill somebody would ordinarily want to vote for, but the wrong person's name is on it, the wrong party's name is on it, and therefore they don't want to support that legislation simply for that reason. How do you overcome that? Somebody who knows what the right thing is to do but can't do it or chooses not to do it just because of partisanship?
Well, I mean, that's something that has to change. I mean, a good bill is a good bill, and it has to come down and remind people while they're there, why they're there. And that's for their constituents. And what's in the best interests of their constituents? It should be irrelevant whose name is on a bill, if there's a personality involved. If it's something that can help people and you agree with, and you should support it.
You didn't take the bait when they tried to lure you into the whole Donald Trump question. In many ways, your entire career has sort of been a repudiation of that style of politics, the denigration, the narcissism that we see so often. Senator Reid and Senator Bryan seem to suggest that Donald Trump had fundamentally changed the country and had ruined the Republican brand. You're a Republican. Do you think that's the case? Are you worried about the brand of your party being ruined by Donald Trump?
Well, what I'm concerned about is the extremism. I think we've got to get more toward the middle, and what we just talked about, working together for common decisions that benefit the people. Governor Gregoire talked about that. The former governors talked about that. What is a good idea shouldn't matter whether it's Republican or Democrat or whoever the individual is. So I'm someone who didn't support the president. I supported John Kasich during the election for president. We can all hope that things will change, and that we've got an election coming up, and the people are going to have their opportunity to speak.
Well, among Governor Sandoval's career highlights, he's the first person to defeat an incumbent governor in his own party's primary. And of the 93 vetoes he issued in 2 terms and 4 sessions of the legislature, not a single one was overturned. Also, he told me Donald Trump never gave him a diminutive nickname. We'll put the whole interview with Governor Sandoval up on our website at 8newsnow.com. Look for the political news under the News tab. Well, up next, the challenges to Congressman Horsford.
I think, he's flip-flopped a bit in relation to health care.
Republican candidate for Congressional District 4, Lisa Song Sutton, sits down with us to talk about the issue.